Hello again, and welcome back to Granny Dorothy Visits. Today's topic is Reconnect with Your Life Force. And the first short reading from Wayne Dyer's Everyday Wisdom. Giving is in alignment with your purpose. And I want to read from Dr. Gladys's The Well-Lived Life book, but I wanted to read an excerpt from the foreword by Dr. Mark Hyman. The Well-Lived Life will become a classic, not just for generations of patients and practitioners, but also for people who are simply longing for a richer and happier life. Like Dr. Gladys herself, it seems to speak as much to the aches of the soul as to those of the body. This book explores the deepest source of where illness and health, dis-ease, and well-being originate. The healing she advocates for is as much spiritual as physical. Dr. Gladys explains that true health is about transforming our relationship with life's inevitable challenges, suffering, and illnesses so that we can experience profound joy and fulfillment. Providing a roadmap for how to experience all that life has to offer, Dr. Gladys models everything she teaches. She gives readers a shining example of life as it is meant to be experienced, as a moving, evolving process where we spend our energy wildly and age into health. In a world that is often anti-aging, Dr. Gladys offers us a positive vision of what our inevitable march of years can become. A source of ever greater joy and fulfillment as we continue to learn and fulfill our soul's true purpose. In other words, how we can live our best life in every moment, so that when our days come to their eventual end, we can know they were truly well lived. Well said, eh? And so the excerpt I wanted to read from her book is, Lillian had everything and nothing at the same time. She was sitting right there next to me, but her mind seemed far away when she said, "There's just something wrong with me. I'm sure of it." I'd been her doctor for many years and had also treated other members of her family, and they generally seemed like a happy bunch. Her grown children were polite and successful. Her marriage was secure. She was well connected in the community and enjoyed volunteering for a local nonprofit serving low-income children. Though Lillian had presented various symptoms in the past, all of which had been resolved, her current complaints were vague. Maybe she was sick, she suggested, or there was a tumor we didn't know about. She thought perhaps she was in the early stages of an autoimmune disorder, or her hormones were out of balance. She was unwell, she was just sure of it, and she trusted me to help her to figure it out. I began by asking Lillian about her symptoms more specifically. Did her head hurt? No. How about her digestion? Fine, regular, no problems. Was any part of her body in pain? Not really. She felt herself aging, so she occasionally noticed a little twinge here or there, but nothing in particular. I probed for psychological symptoms next, asking if she was sleeping well. Yes. And whether she had been experiencing panic attacks or depression. No. But she just felt bad. I just don't have any energy for anything anymore, she explained. I've been put in charge of the annual fundraiser for the Children's Society, but I can hardly complete the work. It just feels like I'm going through the motions. Lillian isn't the only patient to share this kind of experience. They can't quite describe the exact symptoms, which sometimes shift every day. Some weeks it's aches and pains that seem to affect everything. Sometimes they just seem devoid of energy. Sometimes they just feel unengaged. Lillian couldn't name any of that, but she seemed to be suffering from all three. Finally, I asked her what was really going on. "Lillian," I said gently, "what do you think is wrong?" She looked down at her soft, manicured hands. It took her a minute to answer, and I could tell that she was searching deep inside herself to name something she had not yet been able to define. In those long seconds, we waited together. Then she said it. "I guess I don't have anything to live for anymore." Her words hung thick in the air as we both breathed in their gravity. After a few seconds, Lillian cut through the silence, attempting to explain. "I mean, I have everything in my life I've always wanted," she said. "I like my life. I have nothing to complain about, but—" She faltered and gazed around the room, touching the delicate necklace she wore at her throat, as though trying to put her finger on the nature of her dissatisfaction. "Nobody needs me anymore. I don't feel like my life has any meaning," she said at last. Her voice shook, and the tears began to roll down her cheeks. "My boys don't live at home anymore. My husband has his work, and it doesn't seem to really matter what I do for these children because their problems never really go away. It's more depressing than anything else. What am I even here for? I've already done everything I needed to do, and there's no point to being alive." Lillian began tugging more urgently at her necklace, her anxiety mounting. "I don't know what to do next. Maybe there is nothing to do next. Maybe I'm done." Even when it seems as though we have everything, we have nothing without juice. Living without juice is an emptiness, a listlessness. It's not quite clinical depression, but it's not quite being alive either. As Lillian described it, it just feels bad. This book includes many remarkable stories of people dramatically turning toward life. But Lillian's story has always remained close to my heart because most of life isn't that dramatic. It's more often day by day, minute by minute, either engaging with the world around us or not. Many of the most pivotal shifts happen in patients like this one. I pulled Lillian in and hugged her fiercely, silently commending her bravery. No one ever taught me to hug people in medical school. Today they probably teach people not to, but I've always done it anyway. Then I tried to explain to her what was happening. "You matter, Lillian. You've just forgotten," I said. "You're part of something bigger than yourself. You're part of your son's lives, your husband's life, your friends' lives. You are a part of life itself. You aren't done. Your life isn't over. It's right there, waiting for you to engage with it." I told her how in my mind's eye I saw Lillian and saw her life. It was as if I could draw two circles around them that did not touch. They were separate. How could her life give her juice like that? And how could she give anything back in return? We discussed her role in the community a little more, and she seemed to brighten up a little bit. Intellectually, she seemed to understand what I was telling her, but her body hadn't caught up yet. A few days later, Lillian had a fall. She was stepping off her patio when her ankle twisted and she hit the pavement, shattering her right hip. I heard about her fall and went to visit her in the hospital. It had already been almost 2 weeks since the accident, and she was very depressed. She brightened when she saw me, but then her sorrow returned. "How are you spending your time in here, Lillian?" I asked her after I gave her a big, long hug. "I'm doing nothing at all. I can't do anything. I have to stay here in bed," she answered. "Well, your arms work, your mind works. Surely you can do something, and you must, because if you stay here like this, you'll run out of juice entirely." Lillian looked at me strangely. "What can I do from a hospital bed?" she asked. "Well, who is planning the fundraiser for the Children's Society?" I asked. She explained that in her absence, an employee of the nonprofit had been put in charge of the fundraiser, but in truth, he was too overworked to really do anything. I encouraged her to call up the employee and ask to take some of the responsibilities back. You have to reconnect with your life force. And for that to happen, you have to get busy. I counseled her. Your hip needs to heal, but if you stay down in the dumps, it's going to take a lot longer. Lillian took what I said to heart. She started planning the event from her hospital bed. She became energized by choosing decorations, arranging speakers, and deciding on a menu. 2 months later, I went to her fundraiser, and it was one of the most beautiful events I'd ever attended. The money she helped raise started a whole new after-school program for the children in need. So, such a different way of looking after her patients, such a wonderful way of treating how we think about life and everything. And she got right to the nitty-gritty. Our juice is so important that, to enjoy our life and find purpose in life. I think that's what that was all about. So I hope that you have a great week and that you've found your purpose and that you're enjoying life too. And I send you my love. Until next week, bye for now.